morning, good afternoon, good evening. I have said on this platform several times that Zimbabwe is a failed state. So much so that is failing millions of ordinary Zimbabweans. We've got to make do without basic services like healthcare, education, clean running water, etc., etc. This is the tragedy of Zimbabwe. Eddie Cross, he was a leader, a senior member of the MDC from the time of his formation to the time when Morgan Tsvangirai died in 2018. And he is also known for writing the biography of Emerson Mnangagwa, the president. He has written an interesting article that has been widely circulated, in which he was asking, how can a civil servant, a Zimbabwean civil servant, spend US $2 million on the wedding of his daughter? That is one of the reasons why Zimbabwe is a failed state. We have had the misfortune of having some incredibly filthy rich individuals who have grown rich at the expense of the millions living in abject poverty. This is the theme that has been running through and through in Zimbabwe. In his article, and I just read a short section of it, our economy has three main segments. They work and subsist together, but in many ways, they are quite separate. They are the formal economy, now estimated to be almost US $50 billion in GDP per annum. The second major element is the informal, which everybody agrees is probably larger than the formal sector. And then the third one is the one he calls here the gray economy. I call it gray because it is dominated by white, brown, and black oligarchs who control substantial resources and operate under the radar. Not always illegally, but very often operating criminal enterprises. Ben, welcome to the program.
Good day to you and good day to our viewers. Thank you for joining us. I mean, he's spot on there when he divides our economy into three parts. Basically, the formal sector, which I would probably say those that are employed, civil servants, those business owners that are transparent, and you can make head or tails of what they're selling and what they're buying. And then obviously you got the informal sector, which I would also put, these so-called millionaires, fly-by-night millionaires, you know these guys, I mean, are now known for briefcase companies. This is how Zimbabwe is right now, where you have briefcase companies, companies that wake up today and tomorrow they are already running for tenders. Companies that really, you cannot make heads or tails where they're going and where they're coming from. But somehow the owners are living the lifestyle, you know. And obviously, this has been the case, and why people are now, waking up to say, but what is really going on here? You got certain individuals like the Chivayos, the Mnangagwa sons, who you really can't say what exactly they're selling. Today they have a company, tomorrow they have another different company. They have got a tender for something that they have absolutely no idea about. But it still goes on. The term now is, corruption in Zimbabwe is rampant.
Totally agree. I think in this case here, what Eddie Cross is emphasizing on is that the formal economy is slowly dying. In fact, uh, he says the informal is bigger than the formal economy. And this is what employs the majority of the ordinary Zimbabweans. As much as they are making money, the real big money is being wasted in the gray economy. And the gray economy is wasteful. That is one of the things about the gray economy. The gentleman we are talking about here, who's was being referred to by Eddie Cross, he is the secretary in the Ministry of Finance. He has been taking cuts from tenders, government tenders, which has become the big business in Zimbabwe. 10%, 5 to 10%, and that's where he was making his millions of dollars. What some people fail to understand here is that people like that, when they do that, somebody at the end of the day has got to pay for that corruption, because he gets his 10%, and the person who gets awarded the contract would not necessarily deliver what the people were asking for. So there is another cost to the taxpayer. And in some of these cases, they never even deliver. We showed you a picture of one of Zimbabwe's renowned tenderpreneur, Whitney Chivayo. He is renowned for winning tenders, never deliver, or deliver subsistent services. And yet the nation pays for it. One of his most infamous tender was he tendered and was paid to build a solar panel substation for ZESA. He was paid $5 million. And yet, to this day, nothing was ever installed. He was showing off his wealth. And he is one of those who love expensive cars. When one looks at it, one is going to ask, how much benefit would have been if that substation or a generating power station had been built. Zimbabwe has been running with load shedding ever since the late 1990s. And power cuts like that affects the quality of life and also the economic development of the country. This is the reality of what we are talking about here.
Now, I think one thing that we need to look at, and which for me is the worrying factor, is that a government itself is going the extra mile to protect these individuals. Recently, this week, we had, Energy Tony. He was a leader in a portfolio in Parliament. You know, he spoke about corruption. He named corruption as it is, and guess what? He got fired from the job. He got suspended. So you're now looking at a situation where speaking about corruption is is a no. The powers that be will see that you are ended. And then on the other hand, you have ZAC, Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission, that has been calling out people to say, when you see, corruption, speak out, come forward. You see, now you're caught in between. You go and you speak out, and before you know it, you're out of a job, or you're disappearing, or you're being arrested you yourself. You know, government now in Zimbabwe, and it has been documented that there is number one. There is the number one person that is benefiting from these here whole happenings that we are seeing. And I think, if we were to follow the money, and if we were to trace where exactly the whole or most of the cut is going to, you will find out that it is the one that is bankrolling all these vehicles and mass expenditures that are happening within, ZANU PF party. So I am pretty much very sure that they are aware, and they are the ones that are organizing. And these here are the characters, are just the runners. So corruption is within, corruption is right at the top, starting from number one. So it is very, very difficult for us now to address it.
The tragedy with Zimbabwe is that we have talked endlessly about corruption, mismanagement, oligarchs, civil servants spending 2 million US dollars on a wedding, etc., etc. The truth of the matter is, we are not going to change anything until we change our political system. As long as ZANU-PF is able to rig elections and stay in power, we are stuck with the regime. And at the present moment, as Ben mentioned just a minute ago, that some of the wealth the regime is getting from all this looting is being used to consolidate power. Mnangagwa has been spending money as if there's no tomorrow. And all of it to consolidate power. It's not being used for the benefit of the nation, for the development of the country, but to consolidate his own hold on power. Last week we were talking of Mnangagwa delivered 102 new vehicles to senior army officials with a promise to deliver the balance so that the total number would be 700. And yet, we have said on this platform and on many other occasions that Zimbabwe's health system is all but collapsed. This is an ambulance in the rural area. Many of the hospitals in the rural areas do not have ambulances. And to be quite honest, going there is a waste of time because most of them you find they have no medication. And in some cases, there's no staff either. Many of Zimbabwe's healthcare services people have left the country because of the decades of being paid slave wages. The same can be said about education. The roads are in a deplorable state, etc., etc. And yet, Mnangagwa and his fellow ruling elite are living in luxury, unparalleled luxury. This is the reality of Zimbabwe. Ben, do you want to give your closing remarks?
Kwame Nkrumah kingdom first, and all the other things will fall into place. The economic, the part of the pie. He has a point, and he had a point. Zimbabwe's political system is in a mess, and hence everything has fallen apart. Unless we fix our political system, rest assured we will never have meaningful change in Zimbabwe. We have now a dictatorship that is so much engrossed into power. The whole country and 700 vehicles for themselves. In my mind, this is just outrageous, and people have just become adapted to it. It's now a normal thing, which it is not, and which needs to be addressed. We have to speak up. We have to put our order. I believe the best method speaking out, like stopping ourselves from being used into giving this political outfit legitimacy. We should stop participating in rigged elections. We have been warned. We don't have any excuses anymore. We have been warned. We have been given the tools to fix it. SADC, AU, European Union, they gave us recommendations. These recommendations are as good as reforms. All we need to do is to implement them. And unless we do that, we're in trouble. And they will get away. We have a situation like we are saying, the formal sector is dying. We have big, great companies that has done so much for our country. Okay, Zimbabwe, it is closing. Food, food lovers, is closing. We have had so many big companies, steel companies, big industrial companies, they're closing. Zim Alloys, Zim Glass, you name, they're all closing. What are we going to have tomorrow? What are our children going to have tomorrow? History will go down that the Zimbabweans did this to themselves unless we wake up and put our foot down. No to rigged elections. If there are no reforms, there should be no elections. Period. Non-negotiable. We need to take a stand. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ben. I'd just like to remind the listeners out there that we have this program every day, 7 o'clock UK time, 8 o'clock Zimbabwean time. And on Saturdays, we would like to have a discussion where you are invited to log on. And the link is shown at the bottom of the page there. If you copy it and paste it, you can log on. It will be 7 o'clock on Saturday evening. And if you can join us, you're welcome. Thank you very much, Ben. And thank you to the administrator. Have a good night.